All right, guys, super excited today. So today we're going to outline for you the fence that we will install for the pastures to begin the regenerative ranching of cattle and of sheep. So let me swing you around here, and then I'll just describe real briefly, and then we'll go over and see the components. All right, so basically all the pastures sort of look like this. They're relatively narrow and then long, okay? So the good thing about that is it really helps to encourage the cattle in particular to trample the grass, right? So kick that manure around and trample the grass as they move through the pastures. All right, so the permanent fencing is going to consist of two parallel high tensile lines, right? So we're going to run a timeless 1 3/4 inch post fence along here, the top here, just and then also parallel to that about 10 feet inside of the wood line. We're going to do that 10 feet inside of the wood line because you can see there are no trees out in any of the pastures to provide any sort of wind break or weather break for the animals. So we'll give them that spot inside of the wood line so they can get out of it when they need to. So 2 strand, one at about 12 inches for the sheep and one at about 30 inches for the cattle. Up all the way around the property, it's going to wrap around, and then of course inside of the wood line there. Now, for the sake of argument, we'll call the other perpendicular lines to that gates, because they're essentially, that's what they are, right? I mean, you've got this permanent fence that provides the sort of perimeter, and then how you move them is we have one gate made up of 9-strand stainless steel poly wire hooked onto a reel. So we will simply come up, hook onto the high tensile wire, and then reel down. It's only like 100 feet. Reel down to the other, then wrap it, go down to the second wire, come up, and just hang the reel on the high tensile wire. All right, so that would give us 2 strands also onto the gate side, one side, and then of course the far side too, to corral them. Very easy. All it takes to move the gate is simply grabbing a hold of a reel and just simply wrapping it around the 2 tensile wires, and then done. Okay, so that's how we would move them at least every day. At this time of year, we probably have a little bit smaller paddocks, and we would probably move them twice a day to just take the tops off. Of course, this is high now because there's no animals on it, but to just sort of take those tops off as we move through and move them quickly around the property, and then come back for the additional grazing during the summers when we're not going to have quite so much rain. The grass is growing a little bit slower, but we've encouraged that growth through the initial sort of activity of the animals. All right, let's go over and look at the products that we've chosen. Alrighty, guys, so now you have the general layout and concept of what we're going to do. I'll just show you the components. These are the primary components. There's obviously be other littler components that will have to be, including obviously the Energizer. So for the permanent parallel fencing, we're going to use, this product was actually manufactured, kind of custom made in Asheville, North Carolina. And a good guy was able to get it for me. And so it is 7/8 of an inch fiberglass, but it is very rigid. I'll just show you. It doesn't bend. I mean, it doesn't, you're not going to be able to see. It does not bend hardly at all. It's really super rigid, okay? That is going to be for the corners and for the bends. So we will obviously have to put an earth anchor through one of them and go down to the ground to resist moving it, but that post does not move itself, so it's not going to bend. Now, these are timeless 1 3/4 inch timeless posts. They are also very tough. Got a little point at the end. They're pre-drilled. This gentleman who made these also pre-drilled this so that you can just push the high tensile wire right through the holes. But this, I'll do the same thing. Can you see that bends? That bends. So as Mike over there at Timeless Fence said, you know, fences are all about the corners. These basically just hold the wire up off the ground. It's the corners that's where the rigidity comes in, and that's where using these much more rigid 7/8 of an inch solid fiberglass, unbendable, is going to be much better for us. So that's what we're going to do. The wire we're going to use is 180,000 psi wire. Okay, I can't remember the manufacturer. I'll give it to you. It'll be on the description below. But everybody says go with the 180 instead of the 200. The 200 is too brittle. 180, we can tie it. We can also use it. So since we can tie it, we can use it as the line for the ground anchors, as well as obviously for the fencing. And we can tie those fencing instead of using crimps. So that will be much better. So tie it to the tensioner, right? Because we will have to have, that's one of the small components. We'll have to have tensioners that obviously, you know, we can take this wire and to put the two ends together and crank them together to keep rigidity within the fence. But that's what that is. We'll put them in, obviously, just using a post driver. Okay, so then the paddocks are going to be created by simply having two perpendicular lines. And those are going to be what I referred to as sort of gates, okay? And they will consist of a timeless step-in post, which uses a slightly different line attachment, but you can see, very easy, just slips right through. Going to use, what I'm planning right now, the run between the two permanent or perimeter lines will probably be, you know, in the 100-foot area. Okay, it's not very far, you know, maybe more than that, 130 feet or something, but it's basically pretty consistently around, let's just say 100 feet. So I'm planning to use 5 of these step-in posts per gate or per perpendicular line. That line is going to be this 9-strand stainless steel poly wire. Pretty good quality, pretty good conduction, right? We have 4,400 ohms, right, which puts us, you know, above better. Not quite to the best, but with the short runs that we're going to have, yeah, that'll be plenty hot, nice and hot. And this wire is going to be on, of course, a reel. And the reel, what we do is, I think I mentioned, right, we simply attach the line using, I guess, a gate hook to the high tensile, then just simply walk down the 100 feet, wrap it around the two high tensiles on the parallel line, and then walk back up the hill, wrap it, and just hang it. This reel just hangs right from there off the fence. It's that fast. So that is it. Permanent fencing, step-in fencing. All right, guys, this is one of the toughest ones. So that's the driveway that goes across right there. That's the power pole that you guys have seen 100 times, right? There's the house and the truck. So this is going to be yard, remain yard. But then that post there will come up and hit that post right there next to the telephone pole. So this, you can see, would come down and then across over to right there. Can you see that? That post right there? And that post would come down the straight line, just nicking this. I'd have to cut some of that away to that post right there. And then that post will go down, straight down to here. And then behind this tree, right behind the tree would be another post, and then it would angle across, right along there and go into the wood line. And that's when I would start doing it inside of the wood line, whatever number of feet back. I'm thinking 10 just off the top of my head, but even this is already a problem, right? So this tree, the reason this couldn't be different than the rest of it is because there are a lot of trees here, right? So they've got plenty of shade in here. This whole area, plenty of shade. And then these pecan trees, so this line will go right down along, that will no longer be yard, because it's a pain to mow anyway, because it's very steep. This is where I crashed one time. Right there is actually quite steep, and you come down there on the mower and it wants to take you all the way down the hill. So that's perfectly fine. We'll just let the cattle keep that clean. And then of course, once it hits there, then it drops off. Okay, so these pecan trees are going to provide lots of shade. So it's not until after that pecan tree that we actually break out into the open, okay? And behind me, basically this way, is south. So that's east, that's south. So they're going to have lots of shade in here when they're in. I'm not sure exactly how big this paddock will be. I mean, it depends on how many cows and sheep we have, but it could be that basically right to where I said behind this tree to there, maybe up to here, would be one paddock a day for a day. Could be if we have, it's pretty small though, but it's just possible. It's possible. It depends. If it's this time of year and we're moving them twice a day because the grass is growing so fast, this would definitely be a size paddock. And then it's, again, narrow and long, and they could just trample the heck out of this. The sheep would clear all of this mess out. Okay. I thought I'd be able to go straight up the driveway, but I got to get a fuel truck up there, so I think I'll have to push out. See how the driveway has the bend in it right there? I think I'm gonna have to push with that bend. So just set one more of these fiberglass posts there, and then up. But can you see the one straight off? So if you look at the little Wi-Fi deal for the internet antenna right there, it's just to the left of it. So I have a little bit of extra grass. So 10 inches is the basic rule, right? So you want your fence no more than 10 inches from the boundary. Now the boundary here is not like another perimeter fence. The boundary here is just the slope of the hill that I'm able to cut with a mower. Yeah, if we walk down here, now you can see that post. And then looking down the hill, that other parallel permanent fence will be running inside of that wood line. Now, of course, that's going to be a lot harder work inside of there. I'll probably do more filming in there, and I'll do more filming when we're doing the actual timeless post. But let's be honest, you don't want to watch some jerkwad putting an entire fence. So I'm just trying to get these corners or bends down so that conceptually you can see how it's going to run and what the pasture is going to look like as far as length and width. Now, the one thing I did think about here, there's one thing about pecan trees. Pecan trees like to drop lots of limbs. They love to just constantly be generating limbs and dropping off dead limbs. So I think you can kind of see my point. So if you look at the swarm box, just to the left of it right there is a limb that's actually just dangling there. It's got caught up, came from higher up, and it got caught up. And my issue is, I don't think there's that other post, see? So I'm very close to these, and those limbs aren't that big. it's not like they're going to damage 185,000 PSI tensile wire. But what I'm thinking is that if they're hung up on there and they're touching the ground and the ground is wet, I think they will suck energy, I believe. I know grass does that, so I would think that a limb would do the same. Oh, this is actually perhaps a better view. So here will be the line, just like this, right straight out to that post right there. Then I'll probably have to put another post in, like I said, up on the driveway a little bit to be able to get a straight shot the rest of the way up the hill. I've got 3 posts up there to see what it's going to be like coming down the hill. This last post right here is about 3 inches too close to the driveway. So fortunately, I have to push it a little bit, about 3 inches to the right, in order to get it to line up straight there. You can't see from this angle, but straight, so that's good. And then at another 50 feet would be like this. And then another, split the difference between this post and the next one that I haven't put in yet. So 50 feet down, the distance between those two is not going to be 100 feet. So this one post that I have to offset, because the road curves, and the road has to, or the driveway curves, it has to curve because there's rock right there. I think I mentioned that before. I've got now 50s coming down the hill. I'm going to do another 50. Then I'm going to split the difference, and probably it'll be, let's just say for the sake of argument, it's 66 feet instead of 100. I'll just put it at 33 feet. This post that's going to be in a little bit, and I think that will be perfectly fine as far as appearance. I think because of the tension coming around this bend, 1, 2, 3, that I need to use the stiffer 7/8 of an inch solid post, right? So here they are, 1, 2, 3. Then shooting straight, you can still see I have more than 10 inches there, but I think I can get the mower to go within 10 inches of that post. Now, this has a little bit of a bend to it. I had to do that. The problem with that third post here, is that, you see, this is sort of a junction here. I don't want to cut off the space where the tractor has to come out. I've got to back the tractor out, but I have to turn at some point, right? And there's a bucket on the front of it. So it's a fair distance, and with a bush hog on the back of it, it's a fair distance. That thing has to come out of there before I can turn and not have the bucket slam into this pillar. You see? So I have to come out and then be able to back around, because right here, again, it doesn't really show up on the camera, I don't think, but it is a significant drop off. So backing up and turning right to come down the hill, maybe from there you can see. I mean, look how high the bottom of this post is relative to here, right? I mean, I think you can see that. It's a really significant drop off. So it means I have to back the tractor out this way. So I need enough space to be able to have both the bush hog and the bucket on there back out before I have to turn. So this post is sort of a requirement at a certain position. And then the other thing that you can see is that this is the road, for sake of argument, the road that goes down to the she shed in the market garden. So I need to have it open enough that I can get fit between the post and that edge of that concrete pad to be able to go down to the she shed with even as wide as the tractor is with the dualies.